All right.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Food and Beverage Day at Techstar Startup Week Dayton 2020. We've had a great couple of days, and we're excited to jump into today's industry-specific track. So a few quick housekeeping items. First off, thank you to our title sponsors, without whom none of this would be possible. So this year, thank you Fifth Third Bank, Wright State Applied Research Corporation, and the Entrepreneur Center for supporting Startup Week. We're also encouraging everyone to support local small businesses this week. So our friends at partner sponsor Downtown Dayton Partnership have put together a list of restaurants that you can find in your app under Buy Local Lunch. At the end of the day, don't forget to take our survey. Let us know what you liked, what worked, what didn't. And if you have questions for today's speakers and panelists throughout the day, drop them in via the session Q&A feature of the app. So you'll type them in and we'll see them in real time. So with no further ado, we're going to jump into Food and Beverage Day. Our volunteer track captain for today was Mandy Grosco, founder of Ella Bella Gluten Free. Thank you, Mandy, for coordinating today's lineup. I'm very excited. We've got some powerhouse speakers, including our opening speaker for today. So Mandy, I'll send it over to you to introduce Eric.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm really excited about today as well. And first up, we have Eric Braddock from Eban's Bakehouse. Eric and I met each other 6, 7, 8 years ago. I don't remember. It's been a while. But he and his wife, Adrienne, have an awesome business, and just invited him to come and talk about it and some of his experiences. So take it away, Eric.
Hey, thanks everybody. I'm going to give you a little history about our company and how we started and our journey up to where we are presently. Back in 2011, we started, me and my wife, we're both chefs, and I was having trouble finding any decent work in Columbus at that period. And I always wanted to have my own shop again. So we decided to start this little cottage industry, and I started baking gluten-free bread out of our house. We knew there was a niche for quality gluten-free products. So there just wasn't much out there at the time, 9 years ago. So we started it in our one-bedroom apartment, and she was working full-time as a chef to support us while I would bake all night. And literally, I went around and found 3 or 4 accounts, and some of our friends were buying from us, like the Clintonville Co-op and Huffman's and Wyland's, all the little local markets. And I would bake all night and then deliver the loaves of bread on my Harley. And I would do that every day. We would work farmers markets, 3 or 4 a week. And our main thing was, our goal was really, because we had a really good product, was to get it into people's mouths. And so we started really kind to pick up momentum. So we had to get out of our apartment. I mean, we were literally, it was crazy. My wife was about to kill me with all the baked goods and stuff around on labels and bags of flour, and she was about to lose her mind. So we ended up renting a little space in Grove City. And I bought another KitchenAid mixer, so I had 2 mixers. I thought I was going to town, really baking then, and we continued to grow. We got some, Dorothy Lane markets came on, and so we ended up doing a round of funding, a friends and family round of funding, to raise a little money so we could buy a mixer and a bigger oven. And so we raised up $100,000, and we bought the equipment that we needed. And that's really where we kind of started to take off. We picked up some Whole Foods, and we were delivering, at that time, fresh bread all over the state. I mean, all these independents, grocery stores, 2 days a week. So me and my wife were constantly on the road, and if we weren't delivering bread, we were sampling at a grocery store somewhere. Like I said, the best way to get the product out was to get it into people's mouths. So after about 3 years, we outgrew that space, and we bought a bakery. an existing bakery. Actually, it was a Luna Burger space, and we bought their space and put in a big rack oven and another big mixer, and we're currently there, but we've maxed out the space, and we've got 2 facilities now. We produce in one, and we wrap and process in the other facility. And right now, since 2000, in the last 9 years, 2011, since we started this, we are now in 1,100 Kroger stores. We're in all of Fresh Thyme Farmers Markets, a lot of Whole Foods, and hundreds and hundreds of independents. We just got picked up here recently by KeHE, and we're in 2 DCs in KeHE. UNFI, we're in the process of picking us up as well. So the journey has been, we've had our roller coaster rides. We've on the verge of failing, and somehow we managed to keep it alive. We found a really good partner to allow us for this growth now. So with our other facilities, we have automated slicing, and all our cookies, we wrap 180 cookies a minute. We can bake about 18,000 cookies a day currently. So we have a lot of capability to produce. So it's kind of it's if I would have known all the ins and outs of trying to get into the retail market when I did this 9 years ago, I don't know if I would have done it. It has been the toughest thing. I've run multi-million-dollar restaurants as a chef. I'm thinking to myself, when we started, this is going to be easy. I can run a bakery, not a problem. What I didn't know was how to deal, with the grocery stores, the big chains, that we needed a broker, that you got to have distribution before somebody's even going to look at you. But how do you get to the distribution without the customers? I mean, it's this big cycle of stuff that you've got to figure out, and the learning curve was huge. So I've had a lot of people mentor me and help me along the way as we went down this journey to help us get to where we are. And without them, there's no telling where we'd be at this stage. But it's been a great ride. I would never take it back. I mean, we're really proud of what we've done. We make an outstanding product on the market. We do 5 varieties of gluten-free bread, 5 varieties of cookies, and or some vegan treats, and a Mississippi mud cake, and we've got some more stuff on the way. We try to launch a new product yearly. But that's kind of really how we evolved into where we are today. So yeah, it's exciting. And there's never a dull moment, I'll tell you that.
No. So why did you guys decide to go the wholesale route rather than opening up a storefront?
Gluten-free is such a niche market, and we didn't know what our customer base would be at that point. We figure on the retail side of it, we could reach a lot more people in a grocery store than we could just having a storefront. And to be honest, being in the restaurant business for so long, I didn't want to have to deal with people face to face, like in a retail shop. It's just, that is so difficult. And I'm the worst person for customer service. I mean, I'll bend over backwards to help anybody, and we make things right, but my patience level is not good. So like, I'm banned from social media, and my wife won't let me do social media. We have somebody doing that because, I take everything personal because it's our heart and soul. We work so hard to get everything right. And then when you've got somebody if something's not right and they're complaining and stuff, I'm not very good at that. So, I know my strengths and weaknesses, and we have really good staff who handle our social media now. We do a ton of social media daily. So
yeah,
that's why we kind of Yeah, we just kind of wanted to, we figured it would help us grow fast on the retail end of it than the just having a storefront.
Okay.
And,
go ahead.
Oh, and I was just going to say, not only retail, we were really going after focusing at restaurants too, because we knew there was a gluten-free niche and the people would needed. The only thing out there, bread-wise was Udi's, and it pretty much still is. And so we make a different size loaf for the restaurants, a bigger loaf than our retail side. So we were both doing both. We're going to restaurants, trying to sell to restaurants and retail customers as well. And that was before we had an online presence at all. That was back in the earlier days. And so.
Just want to remind anybody, if they have questions, just type them in. We'll get them. So at what point was Adrienne able to quit her full-time job and switch to Eban's?
Well, that was a massive decision. It was about 2.5 years into it when she was able to quit and come full-time. And then we make a really good team. We work very well together in a kitchen or in this place, the bakery. And she was full-time in production, and I was trying to run the front and doing the books and all the other stuff that went along with running a company. And so she's, as a chef, she's been in the high production end of it, and so it was, 2.5 years. So it was good.
Good.
We had a question on. Sorry about the phone. Any advice on how to land the first wholesale or retail account? What we did was, I didn't know any better, so I just was cold calling people and taking sample boxes of stuff to grocery stores and the small retailers. Like, we started off small. Our first account was a Clintonville Market and Community Co-op, and it's not there anymore. But that was our first account. Then we went to Huffman's and Wyland's, and we picked up local stuff there first. That was easier. Then we went over and presented to Dorothy Lane, and they liked our stuff a lot. So that was really our first, they only had 3 stores, but it was a very high-end store. And so we kind of just went out and cold called, because there's a lot of times, nowadays you can't do that. We needed to have you got to have a broker, somebody to represent you who has those connections. What advice do you have to give an aspiring business owner who would have new ideas, new app, like here? How do you differentiate the market that exists? Well, for us, and I'm speaking from the gluten-free side of things, we went out and started buying our competitors' stuff and tasting what was out there. So we knew where our niche lied, so we knew we could bake a better loaf of bread. We knew, I tried some of Udi's cookies, and I knew that we could bake a better cookie than this. Being a chef, we were driven by taste, texture, and quality ingredients. And so that's how we knew where we defined our market right there. So I think you just kind of have to look at what's out there, look at your competitors, and make that that choice of where you're going to go, where your niche lies. So, anything else from any questions? The nice thing about, I have to say, the nice thing about where we are today is we're past the major learning curve of how to deal, or you have to have a broker for everything these days. To get into Kroger, they have you've got to go through a broker. To get into Giant Eagle, you have to have a broker. For the commercial side, like Cedar Point or any of these Kings Island, Progressive Field. You've got to have people out there showing your product, because there's a gatekeeper to everybody. There's a gatekeeper to the buyer at Giant Eagle. There's a gatekeeper to the buyer at Kroger. You'll never get in touch with them. So that is you have to have somebody who knows them and has those connections to penetrate that fence, so you can get your product in front of somebody, because it is very, 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 very difficult to do it otherwise. I mean, we tried for years.
Did you go through a number of brokers before you found the right one to work with you?
We did. There's a good question, how to vet a broker. What we did is, and I can just name you a couple of our brokers that we use in Ohio. Empire Foods is who handles our dealings with Kroger. And then we used, on the commercial side, we used a company out of Westerville called D.D. Reckner. And what we did when we, and you really don't have a choice on who to use in Kroger, it's Empire. Empire is the broker for Kroger. So, but anyway, like D.D. Reckner, we went and met with them, and we found out what type of brands they had. We wanted to know what was in their portfolio to see if our brand of bread or quality of product fits in their line, fits in their portfolio. So, and that was really how we vetted people, who they dealt with, and two, a lot of who their connections were. I mean, where can you take us? Where, we have this product, who can you show this to? So for instance, our West Coast broker, right now it's hard in this pandemic. I mean, because really, retail vendors are not, they're not looking at a whole lot of new stuff. They're having, issues keeping, the basic stuff on the shelves. So it's hard right now to get any appointments for anything. We're seeing some of the restaurant business come back slowly, but people are simplifying menus. They don't want to have a ton of different stuff on the menu, even though gluten-free is, you've got to have a gluten-free option. It's still, we're still seeing it slow to come back as restaurants continue to struggle. But one thing that we have noticed and we had concentrated on for the last 6 months was our online presence. And, unfortunately, I mean, it was it was never a good thing. COVID is never a good thing. But what it did was launch our e-commerce into another universe overnight, pretty much. I mean, we went from doing 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 sales a month online to $60,000 a month in basically 30 days. So we had to ramp that whole side of it up and we did it, but it was, another huge learning curve, learning how to ship and dry ice and figuring out what packaging. And I mean, it was because, it was just, it was crazy.
Kind of along those lines, how did you figure out that you needed to ship your product frozen versus fresh?
Well, right now, we don't, our brand, Eban's and Eban stands for Eric Braddock and Adrienne Novak. That's our initials, if anybody wanted to know how we came up with the name, but that's what it stands for. It's our initials. But we ask the question again one more time. I'm sorry.
How did you test and figure out whether to ship fresh or frozen?
Okay.
And especially with COVID hitting, had you had that research in place beforehand, or did you have to fly by your pants?
Well, initially we had a third-party company doing our shipping for us. And so we would supply them the product and they would ship it frozen on dry ice. But it was really, I think what the deal was, it was cost prohibitive because once you got the dry ice and you're having all these fees and everybody for them packaging it, so we brought it all back into house. So we had a little idea of how they did it. But our product, we don't use any preservatives in our product. I mean, there's zero preservatives. So it's like making a loaf of bread at home. So the best way to keep our bread, because you fight mold before you fight spoilage, before it goes stale. So we knew we had to freeze our product. So we ship everything frozen, and it's all of it's frozen, sold frozen in the retail sector. And we ship it frozen to restaurants, and that way they can pull out what they need. But we ship it frozen. We put it in, insulated bag with ice packs, and we make these up ahead of time for Amazon. But for anybody else, we pack and ship it with ice packs, and we make sure that it gets there in a 3-day time period. So your bread is still cold, and you just slip it back in the freezer, and you go from there. Otherwise, like when we delivered fresh all the time, we were like a regular bread company. So if anything didn't sell, we had to buy that back. So that was a real struggle for us initially too, because until our brand was known, we had a lot of buybacks. But as we gained momentum and people started to figure out who we were, then that's really, we got some momentum going then. Yeah.
How long was that transition? Because I know when I would go to Dorothy Lane, I would see your stuff on the bread shelves, but eventually it moved to the freezer.
Right.
I'm not sure what that.
We were about 3.5, 4 years into it when we made the decision to go completely frozen. It made some people angry that we weren't delivering fresh bread anymore, but there's only so many hours in a day for us, and we spent most of the time on the road. And as a small business, we couldn't afford to hire a full-time driver, and we couldn't afford to buy a new truck, to do that. So when we got into, like, Premier Produce One sells all our stuff to restaurants around the state, and we're in Cisco Foods, so restaurants can get it through Cisco. We also, Kroger, we ship, like, for instance, we ship to Kroger frozen, and we ship them by the truckload. Full, 32 pallets of bread go when we ship. Right now, our team of employees is a total of about 12, and we were able to produce, like I said, like 18,000 cookies a day, but and 4,000 or 5,000 loaves of bread. But the thing about it is, we have spent a lot of investment money in automation. So we have extruders for our bread that. So we don't have to touch the dough anymore. I mean, as long as you keep the hopper filled, it's pumping out bread, the exact size, the exact weight. We have automatic slicer, bagger, tire. So all we have to do is load it and unload it and load it into cases. Our flow wrap cookies, we have 2 flow wrap machines at about 95 cookies a minute. So there's a lot that we can do with the same amount of people. It just, with the right equipment, that was what the key was, to keep our labor costs down, but still be super productive, and being able to keep the people at a minimum, keeping, as the 12 folks, we're able to pay a great working wage for our staff, and we work our staff 4 10-hour days. They have Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays off. They have a 3-day weekend every week. And that gives them a life. And people are happy to come to work. I mean, you're already at work 8 hours. What's another 2 hours to get a full day off at the end of the week? So all our crew, whether, if we bake on Thursday and we have to slice on Friday, then that team, the slicing team, has Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off. So, we always make sure that everybody's got the 3 days off and the 4 10-hour work days. And I worked 4 10-hour work days in the restaurant when I was a line cook, and I loved it because that gave me the freedom to have some time off, which is not usually the case in the restaurant business.
Andy, you're on mute.
Can you talk through the lessons learned as you've scaled? I can tell you, it's been a tough one. As we scaled up, and right now, in the last year, we put $3 million in our company and equipment and just bigger inventory. I mean, as you scale up to go, it costs us a bunch of money. But you got to make sure when you do that you have the backup resources because you're not going to be maxed out in capacity immediately. So, I mean, you're scaling up, trying to get these retail accounts, and you're hoping your broker teams will get you these accounts. So this equipment is going to be used full time. I mean, around the clock. And I mean, we still want to put on a second shift, but we're not there yet. I mean, we have the capacity to run 24/7 if we need to, but we're not even close. We're halfway there, maybe. But it's crazy. It's you just got to be patient, and you've got to be out there. You've got to be on your brokers constantly to manage your product. Where are you going? I mean, we have a great sales director who, he rides our brokers like Zorro. I told him, we pay them a lot of money, and we expect a lot out of them. Backtracking, are you willing to share how you did approach initial fundraising? Yes. The friends and family aspect of it was pretty easy because people knew what we were doing, and we were both successful chefs in our career. And so we were able to do that. We raised it in $25,000 increments. We gave them, they were 2%ers. So they got 2% of the company, and we would pay them back. We pay them interest on their money, and they own that 2%. And then we paid them back after 2 years. We paid them back their initial $25,000 in whole. So they got interest on their money for 2 years and their money back, and they still own 2%. And it was a good deal for them. It was a good deal for us to get that initial funding. This next round of funding that we had, we've had 3 rounds. The second round was $400,000. That was from an individual investor. They got a good bit of they did very well on their investment, and when we needed more money, they were not the right fit for us to continue to grow. So when we found that other person, and when you're raising money, it's a matter of showing your plan and your deck and selling somebody your vision. So it takes we were probably in front of 100 people before we landed the big one. And we raised, so it's just a matter of getting in front and keep doing it and not giving up, knowing that, you're going to hit the right person who believes in your dream as much as, you do if you can sell it. So instead, because nobody would loan us any money, bank's not going to loan you any money. I mean, even though we had great credit, they're not going to give you anything. We didn't have any collateral. Nothing to back it up. So we had to go through, we had to find that angel funding through a company or an individual. And we found an individual who we sold 30% of our company to him. And that's how we raised our money. And then he also provided us with a line of credit that I could borrow against, in times of, we need more equipment, or we need this, or, during COVID, thank God, if we wouldn't have had we lost $1.5 million business overnight, and when COVID hit and it shut down, $1.5 million was gone overnight. And that stung. But if we wouldn't have had this funding from our investor, we'd have been dead in the water at that point.
Yeah. I remember, when we first met a while, you were still growing. I think after you moved into your first kitchen, you said, you maxed out your credit cards.
Yeah, we did. We had like $20,000 maxed on our credit cards, and just there is being an entrepreneur is a different mindset. There's a massive amount of risk going into it because I've never filed bankruptcy, and I don't want to, but you risk that as an entrepreneur. I mean, when you're out on the line and you have everything maxed out like we did on our credit cards, we're wondering, we're paying our bills from the mailbox. When's the mailman going to be here? Hoping there's checks there so we can buy ingredients. And, it's stressful. But you can't let that fear stop you from your dreams. You can't. If you have a dream and you want it bad enough, you got to go out there and you got to get it. You guys go out there and do whatever it takes to make it happen. And that is really, that is where I strive, I think, because I refuse to give up. I mean, there's been times where we're like, is it worth it? Is there any end in sight? And then, we have a good day and it's like, oh man, that was, everything's good now, it's the most rewarding thing, but it's like I say, it is absolutely the roller coaster of your life when you own your own company. And because there's a lot of times there's no backup. It's on you. There's nobody here to bail you out. You've got to manage this, and every day there's a crisis, something's going on every single day of your life that you're putting out a fire, and, so it's something.
But I would say you obviously have an amazing team behind you because you're able to leave. Like right now, you're in North Carolina celebrating family birthday, and you've got a team back in Columbus doing their thing.
That's correct. Since COVID, we limit our office time because our office is small. Our production facility is giant. We're 15,000 square feet, but our office space is small, so we limit. I'll be in there one day, or my CFO will come in one day, our sales manager might be in there 1 or 2 days, and then we work from home. And, I'm a Mac guy, so everything I have at the office on my computer on the office is on my laptop. So we can work from anywhere. And, our production team that is running production, I have a production manager, I have a warehouse manager. They run it pretty much the day-to-day operations. We're communicating 4, 5, 6 times a day on anything that's going on at the bakery. But it's very nice finally being in this position because I baked every loaf of bread, every cookie for the first 4 years of the company. Me and Adrienne. It was that she'd get off work at Rocky Fort Country Club and come in and help me till 2 a.m. and then get back up and go back to work. It was crazy. But right now, we're lucky enough to have a great crew behind us where, if I do need to take off, I can.
That's great.
Yep.
Any more questions? We've got about 6 minutes. Any other words of wisdom you have?
I tell you what, if companies, especially if you have a new idea, a new brand, or a new, if you're a food or beverage person, the best way to start and to try to get out there is to get in the little small retailers, independents. they're the most likely to give you a try. It's, they're easy to talk to because they're, an entrepreneur like you. I mean, it's not, a corporate guy at Kroger who's never owned a business in his life making the decisions about your bread. It's, these people have the opportunity to taste it. Oh, you know what? And you can sell your story to them. And if you have a good story and you're passionate about what you do, you can sell it, and then you can get some shelf space. And then once you do that, I mean, we did farmers markets. We did every farmers market in Columbus you can think of. So from Worthington to Pearl Market to Clintonville. I mean, North Market. We did. We were doing farmers markets all the time, and handing out samples to every person that would be willing to try it, get it in their mouth. That is huge, because if somebody's never heard of your brand, and why are they going to rip? Because they're already loyal to somebody else. What's the incentive for them to try your product? Well, if you get it in their mouth one time, that's what we did for the first 2.5, 3 years. Every single week, anytime we had a day off, we were at a grocery store giving it away. And I think that's really what propelled us. I think that was really what the driving force of us being able to get into Kroger, because people had heard about us at that point. And it's not, and it was 3 years before, or 4 years before we got into Kroger. And we started off slow. We were in, the Columbus division of Kroger, and then now we're in 1,100, and we're looking to keep on expanding on that with them as well. But, you have to, and the retail sector is a crazy, you just got to really pay attention to it, because there's a lot to know, and you really have to watch how you spend your money with them, because they're going to always want TPRs going on, which is a temporary price reduction, putting your bread on sale. You got to do something for 12 weeks. Well, tell you, after you ship and brokerage fees and everything, your margin shrinks. Every time you do something, there's less money for you at the end. So you really need to, you got to watch how much margin you need to operate, because if you get under that, no matter how much bread you sell, you're still not going to be able to pay your bills. So you really have to watch and manage that, and have your brokers really keep on top of that for you. Any hiring philosophies you found helpful to add to the right people to your team? I tell you, we've been very lucky. We hired a chef away from Rocky Fork Country Club that my wife worked with for 8 years. He's our production manager. So we were really lucky there. We worked with Columbus 2020 and the Nepali community. And we have 4 Nepali refugees who are now American citizens working for us. They're amazing folks. They are some of the best people we've ever hired. We've had them on board for almost 3 years. We have very little turnover. And one of the reasons is that we pay a really good wage for that, for one. We usually we're starting people at $15 an hour with no skill set whatsoever. I mean, just to come in and dish and prep and want to learn. But I mean, our salary range, for our head bakers, $22 an hour. So so we don't have a lot of turnover, and we're blessed with that, because I know how hard it is to keep employees. But once you find, and it's hard to find good ones. We've had some turnover, but it's not been a lot. Nothing like the restaurant business.
Attribute that to the better wage.
Yeah, I think the better wage, the 4-day work week. We close down at Christmas. I mean, we're closed at 8-9 days at Christmas, so people can have time with their family. It's a slow time of a year for bread sales for us. We make enough to have, if anybody needs it, they can get it. We Labor Day, we can't ship to West Coast on Labor Day, so we close down. We close all the major holidays and time at Christmas, just so people can have a life. I think the main thing is quality of life for people. If at the restaurant business, I work 6 days a week, every holiday, every weekend. I'm working when my friends are off. I had Monday and Tuesdays off. It's a horrible life, and your 5 o'clock is midnight or 1 in the morning. So I think quality of life for our staff is probably what helps us retain our staff, our employees, co-workers, teammates.
In some of the other sessions earlier this week, they were talking about transparency. How transparent and with decision making are you with your team, or do they lend in that? Do they contribute to the final decisions?
We always talk with obviously our CFO, our sales manager, our production managers. They're always in our team meetings. Our hourlies, like the Nepalis, they don't speak a whole lot of English. We have one who speaks really good English, but the other ones don't. And they're pretty much great. They will do anything we ask. And if we're ramping up to do 10,000 cookies tomorrow, they're on board. We let them know the day. Everybody knows the production schedule for the week. If we have it on a board, this is what we got going on. But we're, like right now, we're in negotiations for co-packing a lot of cookies, crazy amounts of cookies for our company. And we bring everybody in and we hash it out, and and this is where this is a good thing for us, get everybody's opinion on pros and cons. And it all comes down to is it something that we can do reliably well, and because the last thing we want to do is let a customer down. Can we do it for one? Is it going to be profitable for both of us on that term? And that's why I had to hire a CFO, because I'm a chef and baker, not a financial guru. So I had to have somebody way smarter than me to crunch those numbers and help me make those calls, because a lot of times initially I would, we could do it, off the seat of my pants, and we're doing it, and and it's a pain in the butt, and we're not making a whole lot of money on it, and and it's like, man, I should crunch some numbers on this. But the bringing our CFO on was a game changer for us, because I can give her projects, and she's like a savant when it comes to numbers, and she's got it laid out and stuff that I can read, and we need to, if you're going to do it, we need to charge this price or it's not worth doing. And that's the kind of numbers I need to help me make those guided decisions. If I didn't have her, it would be a mess, especially as big as we are right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
It's great to see you have exploded over the time we've known each other.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Yeah, echoing those sentiments. Thank you, Eric, for sharing your story and your candid advice and knowledge this morning. We appreciate it. Thank you again, Mandy, for moderating and coordinating today. So that'll wrap up our 9 a.m. folks. Join us back. Our next session at 10 a.m. Is Food Photography and Marketing 101. So we're going to get a little how-to on, how to actually take the photos that'll sell your food. So we hope to see you back here in 15 minutes or so. So grab a drink of water, grab a little snack, and we'll see you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.